Hello everyone. As promised, I am going to show you how to do layer masks and combine two images using exposure blending. If you open up the files that we gave you for the Photoshop class, if you grab the DSC 9085 and DSC 90090, and I've already got Photoshop open, and I'm selecting both of those images by holding down the Control key in Windows. On the Mac, I think it's the Command key. So we're going to drag this into both of these files into Photoshop. And as if you remember, they open up first in the Adobe Camera Raw console. And then to start with, you can make a few adjustments. I'm going to maybe lighten the overall exposure on the darker file. I'm going to recover some highlights by sliding the highlight slider over a little bit. And maybe a little bit more, just a tad more vibrance. We're going to go click on this file. And I'm going to lower the highlights down just a little bit, just to smooth the transition between these two files. And maybe reduce the exposure just a little. Vibrance, I don't know that we need more vibrance. Also remember to do enable your lens profile connections. And I'm going to go up to the other file and I'm going to enable profile connections. Now, again, holding down the Control key, I'm going to, this file is selected, I'm going to select that file and I'm going to click Open Images. And now they're going from the Adobe Camera Raw console into the full version of Photoshop. Takes a couple minutes for them to open up because they're large files, unless you have a super powerful computer. So now that we have these two open, there's just a few steps that we need to do in order to combine these two using layer masks. And this is, I'm doing it the simplest way right now, and that is I'm going to take the darker image and I'm going to say under the Select menu, Select All. And by the way, if you might want to stop the video in between steps so you can follow along. Stop and start it. Under the Edit menu, I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to go and select the lighter image, and I'm simply going to say Edit, Paste. So if you notice again, it created a new layer on top of the lighter layer. So if we click this little eyeball here, it'll turn the top layer off and on, and you can see the layer beneath. So we're going to come down and we're going to click the Add a Layer Mask icon. That's going to add a layer mask to the top layer. Then we're going to come over using the brush tool and make sure that you also have to make sure that black is your foreground color, which it is not right now. So I'm going to select this little switcheroonie thing here and it switches the background and the foreground color. I'm going to make black the foreground color. Then I'm going to simply select the size of the brush that I want, maybe a little bit bigger. That's about right. Then I'm going to select the amount of opacity that I want. For this, I'm going to select around 90%, but you can do what actually I'm going to draw that down a little bit, maybe about 80%, and you can do whatever you want. So you do to this file however you want to manipulate it. Excuse me. You can also do this to one of your own files if you choose to. And so I'm just simply pasting with the with the brush tool. Now, basically, you could argue I went a little too far here. And that's one way. Now, if you recall, if you do the little switcheroony here, and you make the white be the background instead of the foreground instead of black, you can kind of undo what you just did. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ease this transition up here a little bit more. And to do that, I'm going to reduce the opacity. In other words, reduce the effect of the blending. And I'm going to just paint a little bit in here to reduce that harsh transition. There, that's a little better. And then I'm going to actually click on this image right here, which is the lighter part of the image. And you can see that by selecting it and deselecting it. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to select the dodge tool. And I'm going to go up under the preferences. I'm going to select the highlights. And the exposure is good at about 13%. And the brush is about right. And I'm going to dodge some of the highlights here, just to bring out those highlights a little bit more. And then I'm going to right-click on the dodging tool and select the burning tool. And I'm going to burn in a little bit of shadows. So I want to darken this down a little bit. So I'm going to select the exposure level here, which is the amount of burning that it will give you. I'm going to take that from 17% down to about 10%. And I just want to darken this down a little bit. And again, it's just darkening the shadow areas. And the reason I'm doing this is to kind of, again, sort of give it a little more of the character that it had when I saw the scene. I'm also going to darken down the top a little bit to give it a little bit of a natural vignette. Oh, sorry, I screwed up. I'm going to have to select this image because this is the image that is the top layer. So now let's see what happens. And there you go. All said and done. So if you want to save this and preserve the layers, save it as a TIFF file or a PSD file. If you don't care about that and you want to save it without the layers, you can just save it as a JPEG. And I'm going to say, name it something different so I don't overwrite the original JPEG. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And I'm going to do a medium quality JPEG, which is a 7 megabyte file. And that's it. Thank you for watching.